Greetings, everybody. This is Houston Strong from thetradingedge.org, and this video is titled "Markets Once Again Shake Out All the Weekends Before Going to All-Time Highs." Well, in some markets. So let's get into it. So as we did yesterday, we began with the VIX. So let's start there first. So the VIX yesterday, in yesterday's video, I spoke about the importance of that monthly pivot and those other two pivots we were looking at, which was the inside bar high on the 4th and the outside bar high on the 3rd. And we really wanted to see whether or not the VIX could crack above that monthly open, stay above it, and then if the bears are going to have any chance, they needed to take out those pivots. And I said those words about 45 minutes before yesterday's close. And right before yesterday's close, the bears took control. And the buyers of the VIX took control, and they pushed price right to that monthly open. They tapped it, got above it, but were unable to stay above it, and it came back into the range. So, were the buyers of the VIX, were they going to be able to test these levels? That was going to be the question, either in the morning session or in the afternoon after FOMC. And from the get-go this morning, the bias on the VIX was to the short side. The sellers came in right away and began to push it right back through the range again. And today we ended things right at 2806, excuse me, which is 1 penny below the weekly open. So if you actually take a look at the weekly open on the bottom chart here in the left-hand corner, look at that little doji. That's this week. We've gone nowhere this week, So essentially we're basically where we began the week. So this purple line here, that's the weekly open. And so all we've been doing so far is tapping the monthly open and then tapping the weekly open. And so now we want to see, can this thing continue to break down and test these lower levels, especially the 2781 level, 81 level. Can it break through that? Because it did break below 28 at one point, but we had a few buyers step in, so people did defend the 28 level. But right now, the sellers of the VIX are certainly in control, because there's a great selling opportunity today on the VIX. And I'll just zoom into the intraday chart here to take a look at it. So once again, on the daily chart, just quickly point it out, right? So we wanted to see if if the bears are going to be able to take control and shake people out even further. Could they break above that monthly open and take out that inside bar and that outside bar pivot? They were not able to do that, right? And so what happened today was the following. Right from the get-go, the bias was going to be short. So this morning we gapped down. So last night, right, they were unable to close above the monthly open. We gapped down in the morning, and then right in the sequence here, this is where I got short. It turned out to be a very good trade. In the morning, in the pre-market, you don't see this because there's no pre-market data on this particular chart, but there's some bars here, and this is actually an outside bar. It actually engulfs, or it's outside the range of these pre-market bars. So this bar here is actually an outside bar. It goes outside bar at the open and up, followed by two inside bars, and the short's right there. So I shorted it right here at 2860. So the low of this bar here is 2861. I short at 2860, and it broke below that, and then it just basically sold off slowly for most of the day. I took out profits along the way because I tend not to hold my trades into FOMC if I don't have a lot of buffer. This one did have a bit of buffer. I was up 2R, so I basically parred it out. So I put it to break even, and it never came back to touch me. So I was fortunate enough to let that thing basically go to the rest of the day. So this thing closes out near the lows at 2806 below, slightly below the weekly open. So again, this is a really nice sequence because what's actually happening here is we have the outside bar, which shows momentum. It goes up. Now the buyers who have bought here, they've used a lot of energy pushing this thing up. Now, can they push it up here? That's what they want, is they want to gap fill this. The fact that they couldn't do so, and we're left with these two inside bars consolidating, once this pivot breaks, this inside bar low breaks, then immediately these guys here who've put their stops there, and there are now in danger. Okay, so it puts them immediately in play, and they take out those pivots right away. And then it was chopped around for a while, then FOMC came out, and then here's the same sequence again, but to the downside. Outside bar and up, right? And there is your break below this pivot here, and there, bam, once that pivot gets taken out, they're going after these pivots here. that pivot, and then these pivots. All right, so that turned out to be a very nice trade on the VIX, and it gave us a good bias, or gave me a good bias for the broader markets. It was quite slow of a mover today on the VIX, but there were some very clear signs that we were potentially going to be making some all-time highs in some products. The one case in point is XLK. In yesterday's video, I talked about how we want to be watching the Qs because we have that outside-inside condition that resolved to the upside. The XLK also had the exact same condition, and it was one that I pointed out in the monthly video that it was very, very close to taking out those all-time highs. 76.27 was the all-time high, and the other day here it had gone to 76.25. It had come very, very close. So today, if this thing was going to break this pivot, then the chance of it going to 27 was going to be very, very high, and we got that opportunity on the XLK right in the early going. So if we look at the, let's say, 30-minute chart on the XLK, it was a pretty straightforward trade. So let's zoom into the XLK here. And so we'll zoom in here. Yesterday, the markets once again did its best, did a great job of shaking out all the weak longs. So anyone who was hoping for those all-time highs to get hit yesterday got scared out. So this pullback here looked really aggressive, right? So it looked really aggressive and pulled all the, took out all those weak longs and shook them out before popping up and taking XLK to all-time highs. XLK's obviously has a smaller basket of tech stocks than the Qs does. Has some higher weightings in some of the bigger names as well. But now that we have XLK hitting all-time highs and actually closing above those all-time highs, gives me great confidence that the Qs will eventually get to those levels as well. Now, back to XLK for a second because the chart's very interesting. Now, yesterday, as we mentioned, you want to see how these levels get handled, and look what happened on the XLK. So we talked about the VIX and that monthly open. This is what happened on XLK. It brought things right back to the weekly open. So for a second here, it turned the week red right at the close. So at 3:30, the last half an hour of trading, went inside bar and went down. And then sellers, our buyers, quickly stepped in. Look at the amount of volume here. An obscene amount of volume stepped in and pushed it above this inside bar, basically stopping out anyone who got short here. So anyone who got short in this last hour, hoping for this, collapse back down at these levels here, they quickly got stopped out. And if they didn't get stopped out, they got stopped out today, right? Because at this point here, where are you going to put your stop? You're at all-time highs now. You've broken above all-time highs. If you haven't closed out your trade yet, then you're just kind of hoping that this thing exhausts and comes back in to save your trade. You're not looking to make money at this point. You're just hoping that it's that you're gonna break even or get out of that pain trade. So this is what happened. So yesterday we end the day with an outside bar with lots of volume. This morning, outside bar and up momentum, followed by inside bar consolidation, and then boom, right to all-time highs. That candle there breaks the 76.27 level, and that takes you to all-time highs. So really, really nice sequence. Now, if you zoom out a bit, what's actually happening here is also very instructive, because once you see this, you'll see it everywhere. Now, here, what you see is that we have a higher high. All right, we have a high here that's higher than this pivot high here. See how that's higher than this, and that's higher than that, but not as high as that. Now, yesterday we had a low created right at the end of the day that's lower than that low. And this is the way the market works. This is the way price discovery works. It's always making higher highs and higher lows and confusing most people. This is why for most people, especially those who play breakouts, are always getting in trouble because they're thinking horizontally, right, in a linear fashion. They're thinking, okay, if this level breaks, I'm going to go short, right, because they're seeing this horizontal line here, right? But unfortunately, that's not the way that trend lines actually work. We have more of a diagonal situation here, where if this sticks, then we're going to get this pattern here. We're going to get a Browning formation. We're going to get a test to the other side. And this trade is way easier and way bigger in terms of range than this little trade you would have taken had you tried to go on to the short side here, right? So that's the beauty of once you understand this pattern here, where you're always seeing higher highs and you're getting lower lows. Then you can expect that you're going to get the test to the other side, and that's what got you to those all-time highs. So again, the markets did a really good job of stopping out anyone who had poor trade location, right? So for the past couple of days, the markets have been kind of pulling back slowly. This is, this week here, it pulled back slowly back and kind of faded all the rallies, and then today it popped up. Okay, so one name that I've been talking about on the weekly, or on this past weekly, this weekly video was Nvidia. That one turned out to be a really good trade today. So Nvidia, if you recall on the weekly video, talked about how it's a quarterly and inside quarterly and up trade, right? So outside bar is a 3-month trade, 3-month chart here. Outside bar down, inside bar now, inside bar up on the quarterly chart. So any pullbacks for the next quarter, it is a good place to be maybe legging in or trying your shot at longs, because this has a lot of potential so long as it trades above last quarter's high. And so we had that situation here with Nvidia. So yesterday, I'll just put it on the 4-hour chart to make it even cleaner. So let's zoom into the 4-hour chart here. So there's a situation again, outside inside pattern, breaks to the downside, and we get the inside bar reversal. So you got that inside bar reversal. You had a chance to get long here above once this inside bar breaks to the upside. Once this inside bar breaks to the upside, this turns this thing back to full time frame alignment to the upside, because this purple line is the weekly open. Once you break above there, right, you're now up on the quarter, up on the month, that's the orange line, up on the week, up on the day, and so on and so forth. So that's a very easy trade. And look, that's the pivot that had to go after, right? This pivot here. Anyone who tried to short Nvidia, their last chance to put their stop was that we're going to be there. Not the last chance, but anyone who's short-term, who's a short-term trader and trying to fade this thing, they would have put their stop there, and it took it right out just by a bit, and then it came back in again. Tomorrow, let's see if we get continuation on Nvidia. Another great name today was DOKU. DocuSign. Tech was flying today. A lot of money was flying back into the SaaS names that had been sold off over the past week or so, and they came rushing back in today. So DOKU. So let's look at the monthly chart. Inside month so far, but green month, green week, and here's the situation that looked really good. So here, inside bar and down, right? So some people get short here. They try to go short. It consolidates and then pops up. So that's your inside bar reversal condition. That's a 1-day chart. On the 2-day chart, it looks like this. Right? So there's your inside bar right there. It's basically consolidating for 2 whole days inside this range. Right? And it finally pops out today. And so here, this sequence here on the 4-hour chart is really nice. Turned out to be a really nice trade. Outside bar, inside bar. And I got long here yesterday when things look bad. Sometimes that's how you get good trade location. You don't get good trade location when the trades feel good. You get good trade locations when it looks like things are going to break down. So you stepped in here above this bar's high, outside, inside, and it basically goes nowhere for most of the day yesterday. So that's a good sign, right? Because yesterday the markets pulled back and closed near the lows, except for the last 30 minutes where buyers stepped in. For most of that session, it came back to the lows, as you saw already in tech. The fact that the worst it could do was an inside bar was very productive, because once that inside bar breaks, bam, it was rocket fuel today for DOKU. Right? So if you take a look at the 15-minute chart, that was the first, first 2 hours of the session. First hour of the session was basically a combination of buyers stepping in and more than likely of shorts having to cover. Because here, anyone who got short in that sequence, we showed that inside bar reversal on the daily. Anyone who got short down here, right? They sold this. They thought, okay, this thing broke. It's inside bar and down. As soon as that breaks above here, they had to cover very quickly. At the cover, and so now, who else are they going to go after? All right, so a great trade on DOKU. So, let's cut it short here now. There's a lot more potential for the company for the next couple of days. JP Morgan does and Wells Fargo do announce earnings on Friday. So looking at financials to possibly be in play before the earnings come out. I'm looking at XLF here, and XLF right now, outside inside on the month. So that's it's green on the month. You still have an inside week right now, so may or may not do anything for the rest of the week. We'll see what happens there. So just watching XLF for any potential clues. And Facebook has a lot of momentum behind it right now. So looking at Facebook here, let's just switch our charts around a bit. Facebook today goes inside bar. Excuse me, it's the 1 day. Goes inside bar here on the daily chart. On the 2 day chart, it already broke that inside condition. Now on the 4-hour chart now, we have a bunch of consolidation. So you want to see how that resolves to the upside. This is a momentum trade, right? So there's a difference here between this and buying something like this. This is for me personally, I like this trade more, right? So if you take a look at this trade, what you're doing here is you're going outside, inside, and down, buying the inside bar, that brick of the inside bar, versus now it's popped out of that pullback, and now you're trying to buy a breakout here. So if you buy this and it pops up tomorrow, then you want to see whether or not Facebook can if it pops up, can keep those gains, or do they sell it off and they push it back into the range here again for some more consolidation. So that's what I would be looking for if I was trading Facebook. Otherwise, I hope you have a good Thursday trading session, good rest of the week, and happy trading.